iOS 14 could bring big changes to your home screen and finally let you change those default apps. If everything goes according to plan, which so far it has not, Apple will officially announce iOS 14 on June 22nd. That's the start date of WWDC 2020. And with the release of iOS, we can expect all the new software updates, macOS, tvOS, watchOS, you know the drill. Now, normally, the announcement is followed by the release of the developers beta, and then the public beta, and then it culminates to the official release of iOS in September alongside those new iPhones. Now, this is obviously a very unique year, so even though it's happened in the past, that's not to say it's going to happen this year, especially because we're hearing strong rumors that that iPhone 12 is going to be delayed. Most recently, the rumors have said that delayed into October. Obviously, Apple doesn't have to wait for the iPhone 12 to launch iOS, so there's still a possibility we may see it in September, even if that iPhone is delayed. However, they may just hold off and just make a major announcement in October with everything. So I, for one, I'm looking at September or October for the release of the public version, finalized version of iOS 14. With that said, let's take a look at the features, because for a couple months now, we've been seeing some leaks of early versions of iOS 14. Some of those rumor sites like 9to5Mac and Mac Rumors have gotten their hands on it, or at least they say they have, and it gives us a glimpse at some of the features that we can expect. Now, it goes without saying that these are just rumors and these leaks may not prove to be true, but even if they are true, the features may not make it to prime time or may not make it to the final version of iOS 14, so just, take it all with a grain of salt, as usual. But let's take a look at that home screen, because for the first time in years, your home screen may look different. According to 9to5Mac, users will now get the option to organize their apps in a list view. So instead of that grid view, you can organize it in a list. If you have an Apple Watch, you're familiar with this, except in iOS 14. Apparently, instead of just alphabetical order, you'll also be able to organize your apps according to most used or the ones with the most unread notifications. The other exciting rumor is that you may finally be able to change those default apps, because for years, or since the existence of the iPhone, Apple has forced us to use their own pre-installed apps. Now it may be opening the platform for you to change up from Apple Maps to Google Maps or Apple Music to Spotify. Messages will also get new features, and I'm not talking about Animojis or Memojis, although we may see some of that. I'm talking about more practical features, like the ability to mention someone in a group chat. This is something that can already be done with the @ symbol in WhatsApp or Slack or other messaging services. Also, the ability to retract a message. Not necessarily delete it from existence, but at least something that lets you take it back and it would still appear that it was deleted. And then lastly, I know I'm forgetting something. Mark as unread. Multitasking is another one of those features that people have been begging for on the iPhone for a very long time, and it may finally come in iOS 14. Longtime Apple leaker Ben Geskin posted a video of what this would look like on his Twitter page, claiming that it is the real thing. He has since been kind of attacked by people saying that it looks a lot like what you can already do with a jailbreak on the iPhone. He, however, maintains that it is the real deal, and it would make sense for Apple to launch it this year, especially because it's rumored to be releasing an even larger screen iPhone 12 Max that would just give it more iPad-like capabilities. I, for one, just want the picture-in-picture viewing for videos, please. Moving on to Safari. According to 9to5Mac, Safari will get the ability to translate entire websites to your native tongue or whatever language you would like to translate to. You'll notice that a lot of these features already exist on different platforms. This would work very similarly as it does already on Google Chrome. And Siri can already translate phrases. That's a pretty useful trick if you ever need it as well. But the difference here would be that Safari would allow you to just toggle between the two languages without having to reload the page. It would also be available without even an internet connection. And it would also be available on other Apple apps, like say if you need to translate a review on the App Store, for example. Safari is also said to be getting Apple Pencil support, and I'm not just talking about using it as a cursor, but actually useful stuff like scribbling or taking notes on a page, and it would work not just on Safari, but on different browsers. The other cool feature is an accessibility feature that 9to5Mac mentions, and it would allow users to be able to translate sounds into haptic responses, and this is especially useful for people who suffer from hearing loss. They could translate the sound of an alarm or even a crying baby into haptic feedback so they don't miss out on it. There are 2 new apps apparently coming to your iPhone with iOS 14. One of them is a fitness app, not the activities app that already exists, which tracks how much you're not working out during quarantine. I'm talking about a fitness app that guides you through specific workouts. It mentions yoga, rowing, dancing, swimming, running, anything really that you can imagine you can access and have a coach on your phone. It would also be available on the Apple Watch and on Apple TV, which would be especially helpful. And the other one has to do with augmented reality. Apparently, you'll be able to use your phone to view information about a product that's sitting right in front of you. Pricing, compare it to other products, look at all the features. Right now, it only mentions it working with products from the Apple Store and Starbucks, but this could potentially be expanded to other retailers as well. And lastly, and I would argue most importantly, it's looking like iOS 14 would be compatible with all devices running iOS 13, which means it won't exclude older devices this time around. With that said, we will find out very, very soon which features make it to at least the WWDC 2020 version of iOS 14 in the presentation, because that's coming up very, very soon, and we will be covering that as per